Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Dr. Lopkin say it ain't so, but we thought it, when the election happened, we thought, okay, well, we're going to keep the Republicans are going to keep the Senate, and that's not really the case. What does it mean to you?
No, right now we've got a 50-50 split between the Republicans and the Democrats. So Kamala Harris has the deciding vote if it splits. I've heard a lot of analysis about this, and actually it sounds like this is going to work out fairly well because there are a group of centrist Democrats, and they refuse to vote along party lines for the things the progressives and the left want. So they really have control because with 50-50, the Democrats can't lose a single vote if they want to pass anything in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So those centrist Democrats in the Senate have a lot of power now.
Like Manchin.
Yes.
Okay, but here's what intrigues me, gets me thinking, is, the Republicans, they didn't get over 50, but they were winning in November. I'm talking about the two races. Now what's going on with our electoral process? I mean, this is Georgia.
Well, honestly, you had a lot of people, even Republicans, who were voting against Trump. He polarized even the Republican Party, and that did not go well. Now, we know for a fact there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So no that accounts for a lot of what went on. And in fact, the servers in Georgia, one of the reasons they had to do the runoff, the servers in Georgia, they know they were rigged, and they were ordered to keep the servers intact, and the company erased them. So we know there was fraud leading up to the runoff. The runoff, there was over $800 million spent in Georgia trying to swing this seat.
I'm very concerned for our democracy. There's the fraud. There's obviously, the whole, money issue. But, are we a third world country? I mean, can't we get our elections in order? I mean, why can't you just put your license number and vote, through the net or, virtually? I mean, this whole thing is just, I don't trust the elections, not just because the Republicans lost. I mean, I just don't trust it.
No, and a lot of people don't. And that's one of the reasons in 2 years we're expecting to see a red wave, because people are furious that this election was stolen. And remember, for years, the Democrats have been trying to eliminate the use of IDs to vote. Yeah. So they've been fighting for years to make it easier to steal an election, and that's exactly what they succeeded in doing.
I would agree 100%. Ramification, you don't think their ultra left-wing agenda gets put through?
No, actually, I think the ultra left-wing agenda is going to suffer because of this. The progressives lost seats in the House.
That I do know, yes.
The centrists in the Democratic Party have the bulk of the power in the Senate because the Republicans still have 50 votes, which means the Democrats can't lose any votes. So the left wing of the party actually loses out. You're going to see, based on these results, that they are going to have to swing more to the center. And I think, quite frankly, in 2 years, you're going to see a red wave. I don't know if if the Republicans will take over the House or the Senate in 2 years, but you're going to see the left lose more, especially if they try to put through some of the policies that they've been talking about. Because over the next 2 years, you're talking about policies that will raise people's taxes, cost them jobs. That's going to cost the left big in 2 years. So either
I actually think you have an excellent point, Dr. Lopkin, because I was thinking it through as you're talking and listening to what you're saying, and I actually think it might work out better for the Republicans because they would be blamed for, being obstructionists, so on and so forth. But actually, with the 50-50 split, the Democrats can't say that, and they own it.
Absolutely. And if you'll remember, during the Obama administration, during the first 2 years when they had absolute control over the White House and both houses in Congress, they split. They could not get the party together lockstep. The only thing they were able to push through was the Affordable Care Act. The left and the center parts of the Democratic Party basically went to war with themselves, and the Republicans just watched it all happen.
You think history is going to repeat itself?
I think history is going to repeat itself. I think the centrists are going to control the Senate. The progressives lost a lot of credibility in the House, and the mainstream Democrats blame the progressives for their losses in the House. So if the left manages to get things passed in the House, I think they will be blocked in the Senate. I think and if the left manages to get any of their more ridiculous ideas, say the Green New Deal, raising taxes on everybody. Remember, 85% of the country got a tax break under the Trump administration.
Oh, yeah, no question about it.
So if these people suddenly are paying more taxes, they are not going to be happy with the progressives. So either the Democratic Party themselves stops their progressive wing and shifts more towards the center over the next 2 years, or they're going to lose big in 2 years and the left will be to blame.
So you don't think we're going to get Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. as states, or the Green New Deal in closing?
Well, I definitely don't think we're getting the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal had virtually no real support, even within the Democratic Party. Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico as states, that's going to be problematic because remember, that's not a simple vote. For a new state to be added, every state has to ratify that.
Oh, okay. So it's like the Equal Rights Amendment that never got passed. I didn't. Okay, I thought that, but I wasn't sure. So
so that's a whole other issue.
Oh, that's not going to work then.
No, right now, regardless of who controls the Senate and the House, the country is way too divided to really get anything like that passed. You're not going to see new congressional amendments. You're not going to see new states because the states themselves are so far apart on a lot of these things.
Well done once again, Dr. Lopkin. And I had a very interesting guest for our listeners who had to bow out because of obligations, but he was a first-generation entrepreneur, owns a Chinese restaurant. And you know what he told me? He banned CNN from his establishment because he thinks they're treasonous. Wouldn't that have been great?
That's a great. In fact, it's funny because the analysis that I've been talking about, where the centrists basically take control. The only place I have seen anybody argue this, saying, oh, no, the progressives are going to be in power, the left has won, there's a blue wave, was CNN.
Yeah, well, I think also you're talking about how the progressive Democrats suffer in this. I also think CNN's going to suffer because they got no one else to blame. They wanted it. They made it happen, and they own it.
Well, CNN is definitely going to lose in the ratings over all of this because their whole thing was they were the opposition. They were fighting Trump. Well, they don't have that fight anymore.
That's my point, yeah.
And we saw during the Obama administration that once they didn't have that fight, CNN's ratings dropped off.
Well, there's not much ratings left, so anyway, we'll close on that note, and we'll be live on this Friday.
All right, we'll see you Friday at 4. You can catch us at blogtalkradio.com/Carnivore Radio, where you can call in and be part of the conversation. We'll see you then.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care.
You've been listening to Carnivore Bites, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us every week on carnivoreradio.com, exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast Store, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.